Good morning. Good morning, America. Good evening, India. This is Sean Shankaran along with Sam Pitroda and Priyamada. Today we are going to rekindle our talks on idea of democracy. Maybe we are going to focus on South Asia. Sam is fond of talking about our neighbors, Indian neighbors. Particularly, there's a huge change which has happened in Bangladesh in recent times. Without much ado, I'll invite Sam to speak, give an introduction. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Premada. Friends, again, greetings from Chicago. World is definitely is at crossroads. Changes are happening too quickly, whether elections in America and the mood here, or what is happening in Europe vis-a-vis Ukraine war, or Israel conflict in Middle East. While attention was mainly on these issues, all of a sudden there is a news from Bangladesh that student protests have led to fall of the government. At least I didn't expect that quickly. To me, it was a surprise. And things are beginning to unfold now in that part of the world, which should be of concern to India and many other countries in South Asia. I remember in Rajiv Gandhi's time working on SARC, where SARC was seen as a potential for a free market zone. Ultimately, in 20-25 years, 35 years have gone by, and SARC has not had any major impact or progress. Today, that part of the world, which include India with 1.5 billion people, Pakistan with 230 million, Dhaka with Bangladesh with 170 million, then Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Mauritius. All of these countries are going through major conflicts, turmoil, where India is a big brother with a lot of economic prosperity, opportunities, talent. And when you see what happened in Bangladesh, it gets a lot of attention from Indian intellectuals, politicians, neighbors. What happened that there needs to be analyzed from many different angles. And I'm sure different people have different perceptions. Some people believe it is a Chinese initiative where China wanted to control and destabilize that part of the world. Some believe it is US initiative where US wanted control of the island, and US's relationship with Prime Minister Hasina deteriorated over a period of time. Others believe it is more of a dictatorial governance attitude that Sheikh Hasina had. I was a little bit worried at a personal level when Yunus was put in jail. Yunus is a personal friend for over 40 years. I respect him a great deal. a simple uh, person who has been interacting with me for many years. And when he was put in a jail, I thought that was a little too much, personally, for whatever reason. He may have done something wrong, he may not have, I don't know the details. But to put someone like that and not negotiate, understand, and put him in jail was a sign of an authoritarian mindset. One thing led to other, and finally, students, like everywhere else in the world, picked up the momentum, and it got really out of hand. To a point, military had to tell Hasina to leave, and what she has gone through in her family with her father, and we all at my age, we have lived through that era. We have lived through formation of Bangladesh, Mujibur Rahman, his contribution, his assassination, and these are all bloody events in that part of the world, similar to what happened in Nepal. We have such a large border with Bangladesh, plus the language, the culture, and the movement of people. This becomes a major issue for India. How we deal with the transition, because we played an important role in formation of Bangladesh, liberation of Bangladesh. And Bangladesh has been a good neighbor, and they have done reasonably well in the last decade in terms of lifting people out of poverty, prosperity, foreign exchange reserve, growth, opportunities. So on one hand, they were doing reasonably well. On the other hand, the politics and the style of governance created this turmoil. Now Yunus has been asked to form the government temporarily. There'll be elections, and we don't know how things are going to unfold. Everybody's watching this, but this is the time to perhaps revisit SARC, India's role. I have a view on it, not necessarily an expert's view, but I believe because of the population we have in India, the size of the nation, talent, technology, we have to be really the magnet to hold everybody together in peace and prosperity. We have to create ultimately a free market zone like Asia Pacific, APAC. And SARC could be a major powerhouse in the world. It is a part where 2 billion people live. 25% of the humanity lives in that part of the world. It requires first peace, it requires stability, it requires all of us to deal with terror and violence in that part of the world, and then begin to trade, because there is nothing better than trade to improve relationship between nations. Business interest, economic interest, cultural interest, exchange of people, ideas will bring these countries together. So I remember during Dr. Manmohan Singh's time, when we created national knowledge network to connect 1100 nodes with about 4 gigabit bandwidth then to connect all our universities, all our libraries. I was keen that we provide that resource to neighboring countries easily and freely. So I remember working with Bangladesh people, Nepal and all, where we could give them that access to our knowledge base. There were a lot of discussions in the group at that time saying how would some countries misuse it, attack it. And I said, look, those are the risks we have to take as a big brother. So these kinds of initiatives become very important in that part of the world to bring everybody together. The effect of what happened in Bangladesh will take long time to understand. It is a major concern to everybody, should not be taken lightly. If it happens in one part, it could happen anywhere. And I'm really concerned as to how that region looks at developments in Bangladesh and reorganizes and restructures everything so that things come back to normal as soon as possible. There are concerns some people are addressing today about how Hindus are treated there, but Hindu population there is 6 or 7% or 8%, something like that. Of course, it is of concern to everybody, and I'm sure Yunus of the world will deal with it effectively. He has already made a statement publicly, and I think he is aware of the role and responsibility, but it will take them time to settle things down. It's not going to happen overnight. So I'm sure with this background, we can have a broader conversation on this issue. What is interesting about our interaction is that many more people can express their views and not have a big sort of broadcast from one side. I want more interaction as opposed to talk by me. So I hope this little introduction sets the stage, and we'll get into question answers and explore some more on this. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Prembada, and thanks everybody. Let's move on.
Thank you, Sam. I think without much ado, I'll take one question from a community. I think in Facebook, Sheikh Rahmat Uzama is about SARC. SARC definitely left an impact. That's the reason now so many trade blocks are formed. So, what are your thoughts, Sam? So, how SARC was very pivotal in the whole of South Asian politics, and
See,
you have some genesis, your own
SARC is
experience.
yeah, sorry. You were saying something, Sean. I'm sorry.
No, you have any genesis or your even association of SARC or assessment viewpoints, please share.
SARC was essentially established in 1980, around that time. And I remember when Rajiv became prime minister and um, sort of the enthusiasm in India about technology and modernization uh, was in forefront of the conversation. SARC was a very important part of that equation. We wanted to share with SARC what we did in telecom, what we did in technology missions. And we did share a lot of this information. We were hoping that SARC will become a platform where all good ideas, not just from India, but from all neighboring countries, would be on the same platform that we could learn from each other. I mean, the whole issue on immunization. We had a discussion at SARC on immunization, and what India was doing then to eradicate polio. And we shared information in regular meetings. Okay. But SARC never really focused enough on free trade, open borders, ease of doing business, exchange of intellectuals, ideas, art, culture. You could do so much in that part of the world just on art, on music and dance and paintings and sculpture and you know sort of art and craft is so very different in that part of the world, so very rich. And that is the way to enter trade. And there is nothing better than trade to really build good relationship, you know. And it didn't happen. It became too highly political. It became, like everything else, a personality conflict, one-upmanship. No matter what you say, people felt that, oh, you are showing off your power. And people didn't see humility in their approach. And it just never took off. I mean, this is about 40 years ago. Remember, okay, 40 years is a long time. And somebody really needs to assess what have we accomplished in 40 years at SARC and what did APEC accomplish in 40 years at APEC, okay, or EU or any other economic bloc, NAFTA. Yeah. It'll be good to do that study. Maybe somebody has already done that study. Okay. And there are lessons to learn. Yeah. And you can't just do one-to-one relationship in that part of the world. Okay. Our approach still is transactional, still is one-to-one. What is our relationship with Pakistan, with Bangladesh, with Nepal? Somebody has to just put together a plan for the entire region and then sell it and convince everybody that this is the right thing to do. Of course, there will be roadblocks. Of course, it is very difficult. Of course, there are issues on security and safety and terror. We understand all that. It's not rocket science, but you got to address those. You can't hide in the back of it and say, well, it's not workable. You have to make it workable under the existing circumstances. You have to take a risk. Okay. But you don't have that kind of leadership. So I don't know whether I answered.
Yeah, yeah, sure. I think that was a great thing. I have a question about Mohammad Yunus now being in the forefront to rebuild the whole Bangladesh. He being a Gandhian, I have a Gandhian question. So, Martin, in your redesign the world book, you have written about Martin Luther King, so how he took inspiration from Gandhi on nonviolence, and then he gave up on the even his own personal bodyguards, and then how his trip in 1959 helped him to connect with Gandhi's life and legacy. So the racial discrimination in US, also the even the Black Lives Matter kind of things, certainly are kind of one of those inspired by Martin Luther King kind of movements. So be it Gandhi, be it Martin Luther King's, yeah, this whole non-violence stuff still is very relevant. It's not becoming irrelevant anymore. Kind of, it's always relevant. So you have also mentioned non-violence begins with us and then finds a place in immediate family, extends to the world. So, and we need to figure out how this polarization between the right and left, nationalist and versus globalist, urban versus rural, educated versus uneducated, are sorted out. So I personally see Mohammad Yunus being a Gandhian is doing a very great job in putting the non-violence at the forefront in doing this transition. Even minorities, Hindu minorities, there are protected to great extent, and even the protesters as well as Mohammad Yunus is putting that as a top priority. Shows the real Gandhian value living. What are your thoughts on, so how much Gandhi is still relevant in with this current episode of Bangladesh? Are you able to see any?
Gandhi is always relevant, according to me, today, tomorrow, and for a long time to come. Because Gandhi is all about some basic fundamental values that we have lost in the process. It begins with dignity and respect for the other human being. It begins with the idea of brotherhood. It begins with democracy, decentralization, justice, inclusion, all the things that we have talked about in the past. So, Gandhi is not just about non-violence. Non-violence is one element of it, important element. Simplicity is another part of Gandhian values. So, I think, assuming that your question is related more towards how Hindus are treated in Bangladesh today, and a lot of people are concerned about it, let's put things in perspective. First of all, nation is going through a very difficult transition. In that process, some people will settle old score in the community. And like everywhere else, minority community will be under some attack. In Bangladesh, it happens to be Hindu community, which is about, I believe, 7 or 8%. Okay. I hope that that settles down very quickly. It is unfortunate that this is happening. Should not happen. But in a chaos where government had to be dissolved overnight, Prime Minister had to leave the nation, this kind of violence, atrocity, I wouldn't say it is common, but that's part of the package. Okay. I'm sure the new government will be very concerned about it. I'm sure Yunus is concerned. He has already said the right things and he will act on it. So we hope that things calm down quickly. We need to support them. We need to work with them. And we need to do everything we can to bring things normal. First, violence, peace, safety, security, and then normal economic activity so people can go on doing their things and go to work and feed their families. That's more important right now.
Awesome. Priyamata, you have any questions from Twitter space?
Not at the moment. But I have a question, sir. Yesterday, during Arnab's show on Republic TV, one of the editors of Blitz magazine, he just like accused Rahul Gandhi, saying that the Bangladesh crisis is because of him. He met uh, the leader, like today's leader in Bangladesh, and he started. So all these lies are being spread on Republic
There is
TV,
nothing you can do, Priyambada.
and
These people, yeah, go ahead, please.
no, so just like whatever happens in the world, it's always they will link to Rahul Gandhi ji, and they will just create. So like we have reported some tweets, but it's, I mean, this propaganda is going on since like whatever happens in the world, it's always Rahul Gandhi ji. Today, Subramaniam Swami also tweeted something about his citizenship. So I don't understand like why everything has to be boiled down to one person, because I mean if you could Like if he could change government, he would change it in his country first, not Bangladesh. But I mean, jokes apart, I mean, this is just going on. So I was just, I had to like say this out loud. And my second question is, how will it impact India's exports? And do you think the Bangladesh crisis, because there are a lot of talks going on that Northeast, the roads will be blocked and Chittagong and all these areas will be affected, like the bus routes will, like there will be disturbances. So I just want to know how this crisis will affect India. So my two questions, yeah.
Okay, let's take first Rahul Gandhi question. Some part of Indian media is obsessed with Rahul Gandhi, and they will not change that. Partly because they believe Rahul Gandhi is the biggest threat to present Modi government. So every chance they get to malign him, discredit him, abuse him, they've been doing it. And that will continue, and nobody's going to stop that quickly. Because some of these people have their business model tied to it. So they have to survive and they have to flourish, and this is their bread and butter agenda. Fine.
That's a evergreen topic, sells well for them all
Yeah,
the
so
time.
there's nothing you and I can do. I mean, recently I've been also attacked by some lady called Nupur. I don't even know who she is, but I, get these things from friends and I just don't even read it. It doesn't make sense to even read and give them some credit. Forget about responding to them. Okay. I'm told that, these things go to 700,000 people. Fine. It can go to 7 million people. Doesn't make any difference. Okay. Lies are lies. If people want to fabricate things, that's their privilege. More power to them. Okay. I mean, they have shown in this series of tweets that I run a deep state, fine, great. I wish I could, and I laugh at them, saying, what a stupid way to look at things. But that's their privilege. I respect that. But it don't deserve my response. So similarly, if Bangladesh crisis is created by Rahul Gandhi, according to them, it's their privilege to think about that. And there is no need for Rahul Gandhi to come and say, hey, I didn't do it. Okay, fine. If they can sell their time and get their audience, by showing Rahul Gandhi dancing, they'll do that also. Okay. Second part of your question was about trade. Of course, trade would be affected for a while. Of course, roads will be blocked. Of course, there will be sensitivity for some time to come. But earlier we bring things to normal, better off everybody is on both sides, on Indian side as well as on Bangladesh side. They also need jobs. They also need to put food on the table for millions of families, and the business has to go on. They have to export, and they have to, get the raw material in, and they have to build things, and millions of jobs depend on export for them. Okay, so I'm sure new government will first focus on peace and prosperity, first safety, security of the people, including Hindus. Two, immediately they'll focus on getting life to normal in terms of going to work every day, running offices, schools, colleges, hospitals. Okay. This has to be the priority. And there are enough talented people there, capable people there. I had an opportunity to spend some time in Bangladesh. In early days, Yunus invited me to look at Telecom. before mobile telephony days. And Yunus wanted to do a deal to set up telephone operator. So I went there, spent a week there with all the people. I talked to a lot of people in Norway on it, and uh, Yunus's Grameen Bank set up a telecom operator. Then I went back again as part of a World Tel, met Sheikh Hasina at that time, spent some time with her and trying to help them in privatization of telecom. Okay. But when I went there, I felt at home. I had no issues. Dhaka was, very sort of looked familiar like any other Indian city. I remember staying at a Sheraton hotel, and outside there was a tailor. Um, and I would look from my window and see this tailor working just like any tailor in India. So one day I decided to go visit him, and I had a little chat. How do you do, and what is your, business like, and all. And in the process, he, showed me shirts like this, and which was so cheap. So I ordered 7 of different colors: gray, black, white, beige, and he got it delivered in 24 hours. And it was a very simple transaction. Okay. And I just did it because I wanted to see whether he would deliver on time as promised and all. And he did a great job, I must say. So there are capable people in Bangladesh. Okay. This was probably about 30 years ago. Okay. And Bangladesh has come a long way. Okay. So I wish things will come to normal as soon as possible. I wish that Indian Hindu community there feels secured and safe. And I wish, you know, India would play an important role in getting them back to normal. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sounds good. So going by the same example, in fact, I think they are one of the top garment exporters for the world now, right? For even America now. So, cool. So our friend Tamil Selvan in LinkedIn is asking. So government of India advised the then PM of Bangladesh as not to appoint the current general of army. Is it true? This problem was initiated by the Bangladesh general.
We
So
don't know.
we
I
don't know.
don't know. There are all kinds of rumors about how it happened and what happened. Um, I'm sure at the end, military told PM Hasina the bad news, because bad news coming from anybody else would be treated differently than coming from military in that kind of a situation. Um, but no one thing leads to a situation like this. Series of events, multiple events lead to these kinds of drastic steps. Student movement was part of it. Authoritarian attitude of the government led to this, perhaps. Foreign interference in some cases was also an element. And military must have realized that it is going to be difficult to control. And Prime Minister's voice became irrelevant. If Prime Minister had the moral authority to calm things down by going to national TV or meeting with students and all that, things would have been different. Okay. But by then, credibility was lost, moral authority was gone, and no one was willing to listen. This is how things happen usually. Okay. Then it snowballs. Okay. I'm sure there were many attempts by other people in her party to stop it. And I'm sure there were people in her party who didn't want to stop it also.
So Salman Khurshid got derailed by entire right wing in India because he made a comment that India should be wary about this because if the authoritarian nature continues, it can happen in India too. I think he made a comment. So, what are your thoughts?
I have not read enough about what Salman said, but I think it is just a point he's making. Okay. It doesn't mean it will happen in India. He didn't say that it should happen and I support it and all that. He didn't say that. You see, in India, the comment you make, general comment, can be twisted very easily. Things can be taken out of context, which happens all the time. Okay. So you have to sit down with Salman and have a conversation and find out what Salman said and not take two lines out of context and make your own version of it. Okay. I mean, I see on TV, mainly reporters, they have their own version of it. What you said. What you said doesn't matter. It is their version of what you said that matters. Okay. I had recently TV interview with some lady and she kept saying, "You said this." I said, "I never said it." Okay. How can you just say that I said it in front of me when I haven't said it and get away with it? Okay. So I'm not fighting with you. I'm not arguing with you. Of course, I raise my voice a little bit because I'm also a normal human being. I also get mad. Okay. And I have some feelings. Sometimes I can manage it, sometimes I can't manage it. And I also make mistakes. But you can't tell me right on my face what I said when I didn't say it. But this is the normal thing to do it by many of the reporters. So I would go back to Salman, ask him what he meant, get clarification from him, and find out. Okay.
So, in Sri Lanka, something similar happened. So, there was the economic collapse, and the people thought that there is an authoritarian government, and there were like a lot of unfavored deals, like even Adani on the electricity board, etc. See, people had a huge agony, and then it resulted into some similar situation. And Sri Lanka is still going through the pain, whatever we are seeing in Bangladesh. See, how are you seeing both these dots connecting? What is the common lesson out of these two chapters?
First of all, I'm not an expert on South Asia. There are many Indian intellectuals and people from Ministry of External Affairs who specialize in this and much more knowledgeable. We need to talk to them. But I'm looking at as a layman. These people have spent their life on it. So they know a lot more than I could ever learn in my lifetime. Yeah. But as a layman, what happened in Sri Lanka is an example of what could happen in many countries if you rely too much on Belt and Road Initiative, Chinese loans, and then you suddenly find that you are not capable of paying those loans. See, on one hand, China has invested a lot of money in Pakistan in building dams and ports. Same in Sri Lanka. They want to do same thing in Bangladesh. If you build major ports in these three parts of the world, you are surrounded. You have surrounded India, in a sense. Okay. So China does have huge interest in SARC. On the south side of SARC, ocean side, it's ports. On the north side, they are already there in Arunachal Pradesh, Ladakh, and Pakistan. So one angle is also India-China angle to SARC. Another angle is what a lot of people have discussed about US interest in setting up a military base in that part of the world. But unless and until all these SAARC countries come together and realize that it is in their interest to work together to assure peace, prosperity, reduce terrorism. And Pakistan has a role to play in this. Terrorism in many ways has homes in Pakistan. Okay. So until all of these leaders come together and say, look, to assure prosperity to our people, economic development, trade, we need to come together to make this region strong. And let's stop fighting and start building things. It's that simple if you want it. But underneath, there are layers after layers after layers of complexity. Okay. Today, if there was a leader with moral authority who could bring all of them together and genuinely take serious interest in building that part of the world, it's an opportunity waiting to be tapped. But it's not easy. Okay. And it's in everybody's interest. If you really have a deeper conversation, they will realize that it is in their interest to do this. Leave aside their personal egos and glories and ideologies. If they think about their people, it is in their interest to come together. But everybody has their narrow interest. And that's why these conflicts.
Yes, yes, you have any questions? Okay. I'll go to Tamil Selvan. So Tamil Selvan is asking, why army is allowed to take control of Bangladesh government? And also, I think he has a few views like, okay, if student movement is so powerful, then how the Chinese government crushed it? Please
Okay, let's take
reconnect
the
the
first
Tiananmen
one.
Square military
Okay, let's take
action.
one by one. Otherwise, I'll
Sure,
lose
sure.
track. The first one was about, I said I'll lose track and I've already lost track.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If student movement is too powerful,
No, before that.
before that,
Before that,
why
there is, yes.
why army is allowed to take control?
See, in every turmoil like this, ultimately, army has to intervene because army is the only one that can sort of provide some stability in the short term to crowd management. Yeah. So if army had not gone to Sheikh Hasina, she would have probably not left. That's my judgment. Okay. She would have hung on for a while. And naturally, that's what anybody would do, not just her, to find a solution. So it is typical in these kinds of revolutions for army to intervene. Nothing new. You have seen it everywhere. Okay. Second question of Chinese. I don't know the role of Chinese vis-a-vis student movement. I have no idea. It is anybody's guess. Okay. Students had their own grievances and their own momentum. Students going on street partly had to do with democracy, the idea of democracy, partly had to do with, how they were affected because of authoritarian regime. And students really brought this to where we are today. Okay. So I don't know about Chinese role in students, possible. Next, what was the third one?
Okay. Third one was about please recollect Tiananmen
Tiananmen
Square.
Square. Yeah. Yeah.
And also,
It's
he's
a
asking
Tiananmen
you to,
Square. It
he's
is a
asking you,
Tiananmen Square moment.
He's asking you to explain the 1989 Tiananmen Square protest and massacre.
See, Tiananmen Square protest could be brought to an end because of communist powerhouse. Yeah. If communist government does not want this, it won't happen in China. Yeah. In Bangladesh, there was still democracy. There was no communist kind of mindset. Okay. Of course, there was authoritarian regime, and Sheikh Hasina could have, or anybody who was in her position could have used military to crush the student movement. But military also must have felt that this movement is not worth crushing. In China, military won't have that option. Okay. So that's, to me, is the difference. If Sheikh Hasina would have been able to convince Bangladesh army that at no cost put this to an end, the human cost would have been too much. Okay. And which would not be acceptable to army. And in China, maybe that was acceptable to Chinese army. Okay.
Yeah, unemployment, inflation was one of the reasons behind the students going to streets. So it is the same reason prevailing in India also. Do you think Indian government should proactively work towards solving the unemployment issues of youth and also the inflation?
Irrespective of what happened in Bangladesh, unemployment issue is a challenge in India anyway. Forget about what happened in Bangladesh for a moment. Indian youth need job. Okay, we don't have jobs. We don't have a formal plan to create jobs. Everybody's saying we put this much in the budget, that much in the budget. I would like to see how many jobs we are going to create in construction, infrastructure, energy, education, health, services, tourism, software, government. I want to define 20 categories, let's say. Okay. And saying in each category, how many jobs we are going to create in 2024, 25. Forget about 10 years, 20 years. I don't care. I mean, it's important, but people want job now. Okay. And then say to create that job, what is the investment required? Who's going to make that investment? Where is that investment coming from? Because every job requires investment. You got to pay people for at least 6 months before they are productive. You got to train them. Are these jobs then sustainable? Or they are just, they're created to pay them? I want to see that study. I haven't seen it yet. Okay, maybe it exists. Maybe I'm not knowledgeable. But until somebody tells me that so many jobs in construction, so many jobs in railway, so many jobs in government, and these are the positions, and this is where the jobs would be. Okay, because you got to create jobs in every district. You can't create jobs only in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai and Bangalore and Hyderabad. Okay, and Calcutta. You got to create jobs in agriculture. You got to create jobs in food processing. Okay, who's going to do all that? So you got to bring this to the next level rather than saying, oh, we're going to create jobs, and we'll invest so much money in training. Okay. Where are the results? And how to measure it? That is the kind of work we need today on job.
Okay, sounds good. So today our friend Joseph Brito through LinkedIn is sharing a viewpoint. Right now, all our neighbors are in some sort of turmoil. Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. It's in India's interest that there is stability all around as China is watching closely.
Agree. Joseph, agree 100%. Okay.
Uh, Sorry,
Go ahead.
comment from Twitter space. So Sharik Imam is saying that any kind of crisis in any part of the world, right wing in India will spread their communal agenda, and they're damaging the reputation of India, and this is dangerous.
I won't worry about reputation. It's okay. There's no reputation issue here.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, we think we have a great reputation in the world. Not true. It's okay. People know where we stand. Okay. And an issue like this, or some, guys tweeting something, is not going to damage reputation of India. India is too big for anybody to damage reputation. Okay. So I would really worry about macro issues. I mean, micro issues right now than macro issues. Micro issues are, how do we get peace and stability at local level? How do we get to minimize violence? How do we get people back to work? Okay. That should be the focus as opposed to what happened to this group or that group. Okay. This is no time to look at just your interests. It is time to look at larger interest of Bangladesh and population of people, a large number of people.
Yeah, sir, just adding to your point about unemployment. So why do you think is the government not like creating jobs? What is stopping them? Because there are like lakhs of government vacancies which are not filled, like in even in railways, even in the public sector. What is stopping? What is their agenda? Like because they are elected to serve the people. So what is stopping them? What I don't know what goes on in their mind, because it's a serious problem. Like in the north, wherever we seen during Bharat Jodo Yatra, so many of the youth, unemployed youth, basically the railway examination hasn't happened since many years, since the Modi government is elected now. So I just want to know what is their
I
way of
don't know.
thinking.
I think the whole idea that jobs are created only by center don't make sense to me. I mean, I've never understood personally why so many people appear for IAS exams. Okay, I'm sure they are all interested in becoming IAS officer. But if I had a family member today, I would not encourage them to appear for IAS exam. Okay, why spend so many years of work and all to pass an exam which is going to give you a job in the government? Go do something else. So you have this mentality that you only want job in the government, whether it's railway or IAS office or whatever. There are jobs everywhere else also. Okay. So you have to realize that if it is too competitive, go somewhere else. Okay. You can't be one of the 10 lakh people waiting to get a job from 1,000 open position. It just doesn't make sense. Okay. Because probability of your getting is very low. So you have to move on and look at job locally. If I live in some place in Haryana or some place in Gujarat, I better look for a job there, by. Okay, I create jobs there. Okay. I don't need to look at job in Delhi. So the orientation also has to change. You need more people who create jobs than people looking for jobs. And like I said, jobs will be created at local level. Every district should have a job creation plan now. Do
Mhm.
every district have a job creation plan?
Mhm.
All 700 districts should say that I will create so many jobs in my district. I have vacancies for teachers, I have vacancies for doctors, I have vacancies for health workers, I have vacancies for, tourism, whatever. Create jobs at local level. And don't expect central government or even state government to that extent to create jobs for me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Last but not least, we are on the top of the hour.
Back I'm
So,
on video. Yeah, can I call
yeah,
you back? I'm on video. Huh.
last
Go ahead.
but not least, this is our favorite Mr. A2 Adani. I don't know, like Rahul, whether we are allowed to speak about the name A2. I think Rahul calls him, I think A1, Adani. So Mr. A1 deal with Sri Lanka was kind of primary moot point in some of those controversies. So, senior Sri Lankan official claimed that before that parliamentary panel, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi pressured President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to award a power project to Adani. So, and then later retracted the statement after controversy spiraled. So, because there was a 500 megawatt renewable energy project in that for the Ceylon electricity board. Likewise, even in Bangladesh case, there was a Adani connection, and there was a large power project which was cleared by um, uh, Hasina, and there was a lot of huge uproar in India. So and people thought, okay, it's not a good deal for Bangladesh, and they are paying a huge price, which is not necessary, and it was a deal done. In fact, there was a magazine Eurasia Review have written an open editorial on Hasina managed India by clearing Adani deal before polls. So, what are your thoughts, Sam? So, this corruption being the primary moot point behind a lot of these countries. So, what are your thoughts?
I have spoken to some students, and some students believe that corruption was also a major issue. People believe corruption is increased substantially. Uh, I don't know who to blame for it. But corruption was on student agenda. Okay. And that also triggered their anger, saying government has become too corrupt. Okay. Whether it is Adani deal or somebody else deal, I don't know. Okay.
Sounds good, Sam. So I think that covers a lot of our questions, and I think we had a very productive discussion. And we have 173 people. I think it's a very tough topic, but despite that, I think we are getting consistently getting audience. I think people are not giving up on us, which is good. So I'm very
No,
glad.
thank you, Sean, you
And
and
Sam,
Priyamvada for organizing this every week.
Sam, I
And
have a quick precursor talk I want you to do on India and sports. Maybe next week we should do India and sports. There is a, in
India's
fact, there
what?
is a huge ask on the community. So on the Olympics, the way India dealt,
Olympic.
yeah. So
I'm not an expert on sports. We need to get somebody on sports also. You know, we can talk about the psychology of sports. Okay. But I don't know enough about sports to be able to say anything.
people
Okay.
people
But
felt the
we'll find
very
somebody.
recently during this mishandling of a lot of our Olympic affairs, and I think people have that agony. I can clearly see that, and the community wanted to discuss how India can at least compete with the rest of the world on par, despite having a lot of great talent. We are not having
That
right.
we can do. That we can talk about in general, management, leadership,
Yeah.
investments and that kind of stuff. Okay.
Infrastructure and even
Sure, sure.
Olympics.
Do
So
that.
I think would be a great one.
That we can do very much. Okay.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everybody.
And thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean. Thanks,
Thank you.
Priyamvada.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean. Thanks, sir. Bye.